Hello again, John Lanning with IPMS for Crook. I'm back again with another inbox kit review. This one's going to be kind of different. It's not going to be my standard 70-second scale. It's going to be in a different scale here. It's an aircraft kit, so it's going to be 144 scale. And this is also a bit different here too, because this review was actually requested, and it was requested by a member of the kit manufacturer. Now let's get this straight, okay? Um, this is not a free kit. This is not a kit that was donated to me. This is a kit that I purchased on my dime. Now, just to let set the story straight here, I've reviewed this manufacturer a couple of his kits before, and he sent me a link to a kit sale, and I went on that link and I purchased a couple items, including this model kit that I needed. So this is on my own dime. This is not given to me or anything like that. And the reason why I got to say this is because there's a bit of a debate going on in the modeling world when it comes to reviews, to where people accuse other modelers of giving positive kit reviews so they can get more free items, more free stuff. Well, I don't have to worry about that because I did not ask for this. It was not sent to me for free. This is something I bought on my own. But, the kit manufacturer, this individual, his name is Nadezhda. He sent me an email asking me if I received the kits, and, I ordered a few kits, got them. He asked me if I received the kits. I said yes. And he asked me, well, you've done reviews before. How about doing another review? He wasn't specific, but being that the other kits I've done were Oreos, this kit right here was the only different kit I had. I was like, I'll think about it. So, but anyway, here it is. So, just in case you got to know here, I am under no obligation to give a positive review if the kit sucks. I never felt that way anyway, but there's no impetus to where I'm afraid I won't get any free items if I give this kit a bad review or anything of the sort. And if this guy suddenly sends me a brand new kit to review for free, well, it's going to be the same thing. But I don't expect that to happen. So, really, this is just something on my own dime. But anyway, let's get on to it here. This review is going to be on the 144 scale Tu-22M3 Backfire C kit. Okay, this is a second 144 scale kit from Litaki. They have the Backfire B, which would be the first kit. So this is their second kit here. I've done reviews for Litaki kits already, so I'm not going to get too in depth with the manufacturer. As I say, they're in Ukraine. They're still in production. They're working on the MB339 and 70-second scale, in which I would be interested to take a look at and possibly get. But let's go ahead and move on here. The aircraft. Well, here's the thing here. You notice on here it says Tu-22M3. But in the Backfire label, the Tu-26, this is one of the great debates and confusing stories concerning this aircraft here. I don't think it ever carried the Tu-26 moniker officially. And it seems like the Soviets, they kept it for empty, the Tu-22 moniker, for political reasons. And I'll get through them shortly. And it seems like it was called Tu-26 for a short time in NATO, and then went back to Tu-22M. So supposedly, officially, it was never a Tu-26. It has always been a Tu-22M. But there's already a Tu-22. There's a Tu-22R, Tu-22U, Tu-22DP, but they're all blinders. So why is a plane that looks different from a blinder given the same moniker? Well, let's go on to depth here. Tu-22, the blinder, was started service in 1962, and immediately after it came into service, there were issues. A lot of crews didn't like flying it. It got hot and cramped inside the cockpit. It wasn't the bomber that the Soviet Union was looking for. It had limited range. For a bomber, it had some big issues. And one of the issues that it had was the cockpit, the cooling system. There was a cooling system installed in the cockpit in order to keep it cool. But of course, the fluid inside that cooling system was a mixture of grated alcohol and water, also known as vodka. And the plane became notorious for several reasons. Number one, it was difficult to fly. And number two, it got hot in the cockpit because number three, the ground crews were drinking the coolant. And it got to so much of a serious problem that at first the Soviet Air Force was actually stationing guards on the aircraft, and they were limiting the times in which the ground crew could work on the planes in order to keep an eye on them to make sure they didn't drink the cooling system. So as such, the plane became known as the supersonic booze carrier. Now, later on down the road here too, Tupolev and a few others there, they figured out after the Soviets were kind of upset about the performance of the blinder that they needed to do a redesign. However, it was decided just to basically build a new model, new aircraft. But the issue was the fact that they didn't want to admit defeat, and also they needed to ask for funding for this. And to ask for funding for a brand new bomber, so short on just entering a bomber into service only a few years ago, which wasn't very a positive thing, they had to give the impression that it was not a new plane, it was a modification of an existing one. So apparently the information was turned in as a Tu-22M, and the Soviet Union approved funding for the new aircraft, thinking it wasn't a new aircraft. So anyway, they went back to the drawing board, did a lot of redesign here, and then came up with the Tu-22M Backfire. Now, the first Backfire entered service in 1973 as the Backfire A. There are four main iterations of the Backfire bomber. First was the Tu-22M1, which only 9 were built. That's the Backfire A. Second was the Tu-22M2 Backfire B, and then the Tu-22M3 Backfire C bomber. And then last was the Tu-22MR, which is a reconnaissance version, which only maybe a dozen were built. Now, currently right now, supposedly whatever's left of the Russian fleet, which isn't very many aircraft, is supposed to be going under a modernization program known as the Tu-22M3M. It's not known how many planes have gone under this conversion. And details are kind of sparse on exactly what's going on in it. New avionics, the ability to carry different weapons, including a new hypersonic missile. And supposedly, one such modified bomber did supposedly test fire the hypersonic missile. But, there's not a whole lot of information on that. So anyway, you have the M2 and the M3 are the main variants of this particular bomber. Now, the M2 started off as a refuelable type, or air-to-air refuelable type bomber. Now, the second reason why it kept the Tu-22M moniker instead of Tu-26 was because of the SALT II treaty. Now, NATO wanted the Backfire to be classified as a strategic bomber. The reason behind that is because the Backfire B had the ability to be refueled while in flight, which extended its range, which allowed it to, fly over to North America from the Soviet Union, thereby labeling it as a strategic bomber. Now, the Backfire C was kind of in development and being released. However, with this stipulation going on, the Russians did not want the Backfire listed as a strategic bomber. So what they did is, number one, they put it in as Tu-22M, and of course NATO no, we know this is a new plane. So what they did, because of the refueling issue, and now this is a kit I'm working on now. This is the Minicraft Backfire B bomber. So this is what the issue was on the nose there. Come on. So anyway, you see the nose. Now the Backfire B has a standard fighter type conical nose here. This right here used to be the mount for the refueling probe for the Backfire B. Of course, right now it's not on there, it's been removed. And that's what SALT did. The Soviets removed the refueling probes off the Backfire Bs, thereby removing it as a strategic bomber, so it wasn't counted under the SALT II treaty. That's another reason behind the Su-22M moniker. So, anyway, operators for the type, there are only two countries that ever operated the type. The current Russian/Soviet Union, which is operating, guesstimated around roughly 60 aircraft, mostly the Backfire C version. I think all the Backfire B versions have been taken out of service. The only other nation was Ukraine, which basically during the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 gained a nice sized air force from Russia at the particular time period, and with that air force came about roughly 60 Backfire bombers. However, the Backfire bombers were retired from service by 2006 as a result of treaties that were signed by Ukraine, Russia, U.S., and everybody else, including their mother. So anyway, those are the only two official operators of the type. There were rumors that the Backfire was going to be sold to Iran, sold to India, sold to China, but none of those rumors ever came out. So anyway, model kits of the Backfire. Well, that's going to be rather quick and limited. There's only 144 scale versions and 172nd scale versions, and that's it. Nothing in 48, nothing in 32nd, which if you buy a 32nd version of this, you'd have to ask somebody in your house to move out because that would be a big plane. But anyway, there's, for 72nd scale, there's the old Eschi AMT kit, which is highly inaccurate. Is a bear to build, and I have to admit, I started working on one, but I lost interest because this thing just, it's crazy. And there's a reason behind that there too. So you had the AMT Eschi kit, which has been re-released by Italiari, reboxed. I know it was released by them only a few years ago. I don't know if it's been modified or anything of the sort. I seriously doubt it. When Italiari gets a hold of the Eschi kits, they might add a couple items into it. They might do a little bit of, accurizing, I would call it, but I seriously doubt it. They did it with the Backfire bombers. So there's that, and then there's the trumpeter kits, and I know they did both the B and C version. However, I don't have a copy of it. Obviously, the trumpeter kits are much more accurate than the AMT kit is, but much more expensive. And the thing about it here too is that I wanted to get a couple Backfire bombers, but I'm a cheap individual here. I'm not willing to spend north of a century bill just to get one. And yes, I have been looking to see if I can't find one for cheaper, but I have not been very successful. So that's why, and I do admit, I do have the Italiari kit. As I said, I was working on one. I do have another one that's attached, but I don't know. I don't know if I ever get a chance to get on around to it anyway. So anyway, 144 scale. There are three kits of the Backfire in 144 scale. There is the Minicraft kit, which came out about roughly the same time as the AMT kit. It's been reboxed. It's been reboxed by AMT. Imagine that. And it has currently been reboxed by Academy. Now, I'm currently working on one of those. Again, it's got some serious inaccuracies, and the reason behind this is because of the fact that, this kit right here came out in 1986, and I think the Eschi kit came out about roughly the same time period. When they were making these kits, and these are during the what I call the Soviet aircraft times back in the late 80s, early 90s, where there was a big request for Soviet Air Force types because, glasnost, perestroika, suddenly Soviet Air Force was visiting places like the UK and France for air shows, and of course the famous MiG-29 crash out in the UK. But anyway, Soviet aircraft became extremely popular, and well, the big issue here was the fact that nobody had any close-up pictures of these planes, especially back in 1986, and so they had to rely on photographs taken, mostly air-to-air photographs taken from NATO planes, and then whatever pictures they can find on the ground, and the pictures weren't real detailed. So they made the kit and kind of guessed out what the details would be. So yeah, the Minicraft kit is not that accurate. Now my understanding is, of course, they released a C version as well, a Backfire C version. So, but yeah, there's that kit, and then the second kit was released probably within the last few months. It's from a company called Eastern Express out in Russia. I don't have very many details on that one there. I saw the video of what was in the kit. It does look like it's a pretty decent looking kit, but I can't give too many details into it. And that kit is going to be very hard to get over here, especially in the U.S., since there's a bit of a embargo. I can call it embargo, whatever it is, but Russian kits are much more harder to get a hold of here in the States because of the current situation in Ukraine. And now we have this kit here, right here, the Litaki kit. Now, the Litaki kit came out last year. They do have a Backfire B and a Backfire C kit. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get into the box here and see what we got. Alright, so here we go here. Start the unboxing here. Just so you know, I have already removed all the sprues from the bags and everything else, just to make it easier and quicker. So, here's the instruction sheet, and we'll go through that here shortly here. If you saw my other videos on Litaki kits, basically it's the same type of instruction sheet, booklet style, black and white exploded views. We'll go and get into that here shortly here. So, got that. Here is the painting / decal placement guide here too. Sorry. There are 3 variants in this kit. So there's the second versions right there. It's not listed on here, but the color call-offs are in the instruction booklet. So, and of course, Litaki being cool about the copy of the box art inside the kit. So there you go with that one. I forget to open this one. Amazing. So, anyway, here's your photo etch. There's a lot of small stuff in here. See the exhaust as well. The wing deals on the top there. This is going to be fun to deal with in small scale. There's a lot of them here too. I'm willing to bet those are probably, some of those are the hinges on the wings. So, anyway, got that. So, there's that. It does come with masking. I'm pretty sure it's going to be for wheels and stuff. Can't really tell from right now, but it'll be an instruction sheet. The decals, as I stated, there's decals for 3 different versions, and well, there's no Russian versions on here too. I don't quite blame them for leaving them out for obvious reasons. But if you want a Russian version, Russian Navy version, stuff like that, you'll have to look aftermarket. I don't know if there might be something aftermarket for that or not. So, but anyway, 3D printed exhaust nozzles. looks like the camera doesn't want to focus on it. There we go. So got that. Okay. Here are the clear parts. Very well protected and sealed on their own, which is good. So I got this for the under nose sensor here. This is for basically the whole cockpit right there, and then landing light here. So there you go with that. Okay, sprue wise, let's get the sprues out here too. Oh, before I forget here too, more 3D print. These are 3D printed bombs, and I'll show you the instructions about that here too, because it does have the bomb racks that mount on the outside of the aircraft. So if you want to build, you can build two different versions of the aircraft. The anti-ship version and the bomber version. So anyway, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sprues. Okay, 11 sprues. It's in this strange Marine Corps gray and green here, which I find that kind of unusual for a plane that's going to be painted in gray and white. I expected kind of like a gray plastic, but you know, hey, if it takes to the primer paint, should be okay. Should be no issues. So anyway, this is for the tail and the stabilizers in the back there, and this is to help protect these so they don't get busted in there, along with the other parts here too. Don't know what that is. That might be for the cockpit. So it's the first sprue. Second sprue's for the intakes. Okay, there are some big differences between the Backfire B and the Backfire C. The first one, the Backfire B, which I've already showed you, is number one is the nose, where it's got the conical type fighter nose, and also the intakes. Now in the Backfire B, the intakes look like those that you see on the side of the F4 Phantom. For the Backfire C, they're more fighter-like intakes, like you see on the MiG-25 or the F-15. So these are the intakes right here, and these are the tapered ones. So, and then this is the tail of the stabilizer there, and this also goes on the stabilizer as well. And then, you know, as I stated with the differences right here. As I stated, the Backfire B's got the conical nose. The Backfire C has this upward tapered nose, and you know, it has a different type of radar in it. And of course, it doesn't have the housing for the in-flight refueling probe, because it was removed because of the fact that well, again, they didn't want it stuck under salt. So you got that, and you know, just take a look at you see all that. The detailed lines right there, panel lines, nice thin, pretty good. I say kind of borderline for the scale there, but it's kind of hard to replicate delicate panel lines on a scale this small. So, but yeah, it would help with weathering and stuff like that. And I mean, the panel lines on these look more accurate than they would on the Minicraft kit. So, and then we have this right here, and these are for the AS4 Kitchen anti-ship missiles. This kit has 2 of them, and I'll show you where they mount on that. Got these right here. Oh, these are these right here, they're for another type of missile. I'm sorry, it's in the instruction kit. It's for an advanced type of missile that also mounts on the bomber as well. And it looks like there's 4 of those. So, just got that. Okay, so you got the wing box here, the underside of it, or the wings will go right here and here. The tops of the wing box. and I'm assuming these go into the stabilizers. So the underside, and I'm assuming these are the burner cans. They go inside the fuselage. So, and this is the back portion of the underside of the fuselage. Okay. Wheels for the landing gear, and then you got your pylons here, more pylons here. Okay. Okay. So these are more bombs. So I guess if you don't want to fiddle around with trying to build up these bombs here, you got your 3D printed ones with the kit. That's what that looks like right there. And it looks like these are the mounts for the smaller missiles here. So yeah, it took me a while to realize what those are, but they do look like those bombs. So here's the upper portion of the fuselage here. The engine faces that mount inside. More details on the panel lines there. Okay, it looks like details for the landing gear, some of the cockpit, exhausts, main wheel covers, I believe. Flip it over here too. You got your seats right here. Front main gear bay, main landing gear. And then finally, got your wings. Right there. So, wow. Okay, we've been through all 9 of those here. And we'll be back here shortly. Okay, we are back here again. Yeah, I decided I wanted to get control over everything before everything ends up going all over the place here. So I went ahead and get all the parts and stuff bagged up. Here's the instruction booklet right here. As I showed you previously, you know, it's all, you know, there's your maps right there, including your photo etch, decals. Now, you know, looking at decals, and I forget to make this note here too. The decals look like they're pretty much in good register. It doesn't look like anything is completely off. And get to it and pull it back, pull it this way here. This, trying to take time off of this right here. I'm just creating more. Anyway, here's the decals here. So as you can see here, pretty much well in pretty good register. I haven't tried them yet, so I can't tell you whether they're too thick or thin. Hopefully they should be okay, but they look pretty good, especially for this particular scale. You notice there's not a whole lot of stenciling. Thank God for that. It'd probably drive me off and completely insane to try and stencil something like this with real tiny decals. So, and these will cover probably toward the on the intakes there toward the end. So, but anyway, yeah, it looks pretty good. So anyway, the decals are pretty much well in register. I think hopefully they'll work out okay. So anyway, get this back in place. So show you the decal sheet there, the new maps there, 3D parts. So you got your bombs right here, intakes or exhausts, the masks, 3D printed parts. That's gonna be pretty fun with all those. Having to put those on, and then your sprue maps right here. Page 1, of course, as usual, starts with the cockpit. Now, we went through kind of quickly. I didn't show you any details in the cockpit because, well, there isn't any. Details are provided by decals, And to be honest, for something this scale that doesn't open up or anything like that, putting decals in the cockpit will be pretty much a waste of time. So there's your cockpit, and these are your exhausts right here. Intake assembly. The assembly of the say like the gearbox and the underside of the plane and the wheel wells for the main landing gear. More assembly. And then assembling the rear portion of the aircraft, including the main gearbox. And there's your front fuselage right there, which of course wraps on. Continues on with the wings and the tail. Assembly of the wings and to the aircraft here, and the intakes, and the tail. Some details on the rear end of the fuselage for the stabilizers here. Landing gear. More landing gear. Forward landing gear underneath the fuselage, or front of the fuselage here. And then you got your start off with your photo etch with the sensors all over the aircraft here. Yeah, that's gonna be very fun to do. Okay, and then toward the tail, your guns. More photo etch assembly. And here, your wing fences. It goes on toward the end of the gearbox toward the wing. Okay, the clear part that goes on the cockpit, and then of course photo etch that goes on top of that. And then of course with the intakes here, you see these right here, you got your decals or your photo etch, or you can probably do them both, either way. And those are the decals that go right here. We're seeing these. And either that or you can scribe them with that. You saw this right here, this white one right here. Okay, the AS-4 kitchen missiles. Okay. And then there's the other missiles. I'm sorry, I don't recall what they are. But they also mount underneath the wings or the wing gearbox as well. Then there's your bomb loads, which will mount underneath the intakes. There you go. Now here's your color callouts for your paint scheme. They use Mr. Color, MIG, AK Interactive, and Tamiya, which is good. That's pretty good because they give you 4 different color paint lines. Mr. Color and Tamiya should be rather easy to look up if you're using something else. However, MIG and AK Interactive are becoming very popular paint lines, especially in Europe. And, well, I mean, hopefully here in the U.S., more and more dealers are stocking them. However, certain issues concerning tax and all that might have an effect on that. Unfortunately, there is no really main paint lines here in the U.S. that would match with any of these. So you might have to do some research on it. But anyway, here's the paint schemes for say AS-16 kickback. Okay, very good. That's the portion that I couldn't remember on that. And then there's the painting scheme for the AS-4 kitchen missile, and then for your bombs and all that. So there it is. So there's your instructions for the kit. And we will be back with my final thoughts. Okay, so there you go. What are my final thoughts on this? Well, you know, Out of the two general choices you have here in North America, I don't know whether it be in Europe as well, and the fact that I have not had much information or details concerning the Eastern Express kit. Um, well, I mean, Litaki is a much better choice than the old Minicraft slash Academy kit. The big issue would be price. So, and being that the Minicraft kit has been out for close to almost 80 years now, I think. I mean, not 80, 50 years now. Uh, Released back in 1980. Yeah, that's 50 years. So, no, 40 years. Sorry, 40 years. My fault. So it's been 40 years since it was released. But yeah, the Litaki kit, yeah, when it comes to detail and all that, the Litaki kit basically slaps it down. But again, it comes to price, and being that you can probably find the Minicraft kit for as cheap as like maybe 10-15 bucks. And now the asking price for Litaki kit, retail price is about roughly 40. Now, as I stated, I got this on a sale and I got it for 30. But then again, you're still looking at pretty significant price difference. If you're, if you just want to put something together that looks like a backfire, well, if you're parts and you're not really too worried about detail, and if you're looking on the affordability scale, of course, you get the Minicraft. You got your Minicraft kit, but again, there's a lot of work to do in order to get it to be more accurate. The Litaki kit, it's got much more accuracy. The fine lines, and it's got a better weapon selection as well. So the only issue, of course, as I stated, is that if you want to build a Soviet or Russian Air Force machine, well, you'll have to look to aftermarket, because there's definitely nothing Russian-wise and marking-wise inside the kit, so you're not going to find that. But yeah, I mean, for a better kit, the Litaki kit's a better kit. I would give it, being I haven't built it yet or anything like that, and from looking through the details, the biggest issue is going to be, in my opinion, will be the photo etch. Because of all the real small parts, the real small photo etch you have to stick on the kit here too. So if you're if you got equal mental equilibrium, you might make it. I mean, and you got your choice of just having detail on her or just leaving the stuff off. So, but you can get your detail on her. It's going to take you some time. So anyway, yeah, the Litaki kit blows away the old, Minicraft kit. I would give it probably, I'd say, an 8. Then again, I haven't built it, but I like what I see inside the box here too. It'll take some time to build it, because there's a lot of parts in there too. I didn't count them. But we saw 11 sprues, 11 standard sprues, and then the clear sprue, photo etch, 3D, all that stuff there. So, yeah, it's going to take some time to build this up. So set some time off on your calendar for that if you decide to go this route. Make sure you have plenty of funds to get a hold of one. But yeah, it's a better kit than the Minicraft kit. So, but anyway, if you have any comments, complaints, anything like that, post them below. And I'll see you later, probably with another review. Thank you. Good night.